I made a mistake. I have two programs. This is not China Tech. This is the program that we started in 2020 during COVID called Kitchen to the Courthouse. Growing up, even in high school, college, I worked in the restaurant industry, and I noticed that even in the high-end kitchens around the country, it's usually males that are the chefs. So when I met Chef Roshni Gurani, I floated this idea with her, and she was excited to collaborate. And we did this in 2020 during COVID. We had every female from who has shattered a glass ceiling, who are at the top of their games throughout the country, come and talk to girls, and young men and women who wanted to go the same route, so they have broken the ceilings for. But welcome here. We want to have all of you we're excited to do this in person for the first time. And before we start, I want to introduce our county judge. We are celebrating Asian American Pacific Islander Month, the month of May, and I'm going to introduce him, and he's going to come up and say a few words. As everyone knows, Judge K.P. George. He's the first. When we were elected in 2018, he became the first Asian American to hold the highest office in Texas.
Before Judge K.P. George comes here, I just wanted to invite you again, Judge K.P. George, for doing a special award for Judge Julie Matthew. It's the 5-year service award.
Actually, I just wanted to say, I'm so proud. I'm so excited to stand in front of you today. Yesterday, we started celebrating Asian American Pacific Islander, that community and their contribution to this country. It is so important to celebrate because this is a celebration where we're seeing uniting and a community came to this country, and especially in my case, I know I'm like. The first thing I did was when we went for a community college to learn English so that I could speak English. So we came a long way in this process. Of course, we went to Julie Matthew's story so many times. I'm so proud. I'm so proud to stand in front of you to recognize their service. This is something I'm not doing anything favor. This is something Judge Matthew worked 5+ years in the county, and so the county to recognize our employees. And this is something she worked at her. And so I'm so proud that I present that. And so, thank you. And it actually says 5-year service award. And to be here to express our sincere appreciation to Julie Matthew for your loyalty and diligent performance during your tenure with Fort Bend County since January 1st, 2019. And it happened to be signed by me, but it's signed usually by county judge. And I also got my 3rd year. That was amazing. My staff came and gave it to me, and I'm like, I signed that. And I'm like, that's the most dumbest thing I ever heard. So, but I'm so honored, that my signature is on. I'm so honored to put that signature on somebody like Judge Matthew's accomplishment and as being a leader in the community. And I wish you more success and more service and help the community and guide the community. And appreciate you all being here to celebrate this event which she started. Congratulations. And I just want to give you this. And also it comes with a 5-year team, and that is also from the county, and I just want to give you that also. Thank you very much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you. Congratulations.
All right, thank you so much. And before we begin, I just want to give a shout out to Cornell Seth. I know if you would come up, and this is he as well as Sonal Seth, are the owners of this building, who graciously gave us this time today.
How's everyone doing today? Are you guys excited to hear some leaders from market to share the story?
Yes.
That's the exact vision Sonit and I had when we built this building. Our vision was to provide a location where we bring people in, especially from our community, to add value so that we can help each and every one of us be more successful. It's not about us on the stage today, but it's about the next generation. It's going to get inspired today and follow footsteps of people like Judge Julie Matthews, someone like Pooja, and all the others who are speaking today. So I'm excited to be over here because Sonit and I believe in transforming entrepreneurs to be more successful. That's what SET stands for. S, successful. E, entrepreneurs. T, transform. H, here. Our belief system is to help each one of you within the market, within the community, to be more successful. That's what the speakers we have today will help us to get to the next level. Thank you, Judge Judy.
Thank you, Kunal. We appreciate it. Without much ado, we have 3 speakers today. 1, all of you know because it's on our flyers, and 2, that are surprise. And the first one we have is Pooja Dasrani. I am so excited when I was at an Indian Chamber of Commerce event and I heard about her and I met her parents and I pretty much cornered her mom in she was eating, we were near each other, and asked for her number or information how I can get in touch with her. She is the first woman of South Asian descent to serve as a flight director of the National Aeronautics Space Administration, better known as NASA. She is responsible for managing various operations and human space flight initiatives. We're going to hear more from her. Next week, after that, we will have an interview with pilot Shikhar Gupta, who's also a very good friend of mine. And we're going to get more information about her as she comes up. And then also Chef Roshni Gurani. And she is a nationally acclaimed chef and known throughout the United States. So all of Asian American heritage as we celebrate Asian American Pacific Islander Month. Without further ado, Pooja. You can record a photo, anything you like, and there's food in the back. Feel free. Our time had a little mishap, so it's not here yet. That's important. That's very important. You can't have an Indian event or a Desi event without time. Not at all. Hi, everyone. Good evening. Come on. You guys get me. You're going to have to hear me talk for the next 15 minutes or so. We're going to have some good energy in this room. All right. Can you tell us about your journey and experience as a NASA flight director as we celebrate Asian American and Pacific Islander Month?
Yeah, absolutely. So, for those of you that don't know, a flight director at NASA is someone who's in charge of mission control. So, specifically, my job is to be that center point person in mission control. So, if you've seen that movie Apollo 13 before, you see Ed Harris is wearing his white vest. He's in charge of the failure to make sure that those astronauts came home safely from the moon. So that's my job. And so I am specifically in charge of the International Space Station, which is a laboratory that goes around the Earth once every 90 minutes. It has 7 astronauts on board. They do science, maintenance on a daily basis. We're actually launching a Boeing vehicle on Monday to go to the International Space Station. It's going to carry 2 astronauts, which is magnificent. And so, as a flight director, what I have to do specifically with the International Space Station is all those international policies, right? So the International Space Station is international because we have the Russians, the Japanese, the European Space Agency, the Canadian Space Agency, and so I am the focal of all those agencies as we make sure that our astronauts are safe on the space station.
Amazing. So you get to talk to them every day. How does it work exactly?
Absolutely. So in mission control, I sit there as a flight director, but there's a person that sits right next to me that's called a capsule communicator. Traditionally, that's been astronauts in the past because we always wanted an astronaut talking to astronauts in space because they would be able to speak each other's language, right? They would know exactly what they trained on, etc. And so that person that sits next to me, the capsule communicator, is the one who talks to the astronauts every day. I also did that role prior to becoming the flight director. They selected a handful of us that weren't astronauts to get to talk to the astronauts, and I got to do that before getting selected to be a flight director.
Pooja, I hate to interrupt, but I'm so sorry. Judge Carter. Judge Carter. I think she's walking out and I forgot to introduce her. And I just want to give a shout out to her. I think she may be leaving and I didn't want to leave it out. This is Judge Carter. She's one of our local elected officials. She's also the local administrative judge for the county and the district courts. She's an amazing individual. She's also the mother of two, Fort Bend resident, a longtime Fort Bend resident. Her husband, Logan Carter, is a practicing attorney in Fort Bend County, and she is on the ballot this November. Judge Tamika Carter, remember that. I've done that once, and I kick off, I forgot to introduce an elected official, and I paid that price, I never want to do that again. All right, what inspired you to pursue a career in the aerospace industry, and specifically led you to become a flight director?
Yes, I think inspiration for most of us comes in various different ways. My specific inspiration for becoming a flight director, or really just working in NASA, was my father. So my dad's an orthopedic surgeon. He grew up in India where they take tests very similar to the SATs, and depending on how you score, you kind of go into different fields. And my dad ended up scoring high enough that his entire family forced him to do medicine. Like many of you probably heard, that could help yourself. But his real passion was always aerospace engineering. Even to this day, my dad probably knows more about what I do on a day-to-day basis than even what I do on a day-to-day basis. And so I grew up in a household where my dad talked about space all the time. We went to visit NASA, we went to Kennedy Space Center, we watched all the space movies, we had a telescope, and really it was my dad's passion that ended up rubbing off on me growing up as a kid. My mom, on the other hand, is an artist. She went to J. School of Art in Bombay, a beautiful artist. And I feel like I definitely had this left brain childhood growing up. My mom's super artsy, my dad's super technical. And so when I was applying to college, my mom for sure thought I was going to do interior design and marketing because I really loved the arts. But my dad was slightly nudging, maybe if you want to do engineering, you might love it. And so I decided to apply to UT and do engineering, and that's kind of what set me off on this path.
Amazing. And we're so lucky to have you here as a role model for all the younger generation. With that, and you kind of touched on this a little bit, your duties as a flight director, let's just go and say, what excites you most as your duties as a flight director?
I think for me, when I wake up every morning and I drive to NASA, it's crazy for me to believe that I am in charge of this $1 billion spacecraft. But like I said, it goes around the Earth once every 90 minutes. It's an international partnership. I am in charge of the lives of 7 astronauts that are on board, breathing every single day. Any critical failure that would happen on my watch would be my responsibility. And what's more exciting now is that I'm also flight director for the Artemis program. So you might have heard that NASA's trying to go back to the moon. And so in the next few years, I would say actually next year, we're going to be launching Artemis 2, which will be launching 4 astronauts to go around the moon. And then Artemis 3 will be when we land on the moon. And one of my new assignments is actually to plan the lunar surface PDAs. So what that means is when we go out for the first time and take our first steps on the moon, I will be planning and running those PDAs. And so that is what really excites me, that I'll get to be there with the first woman that sets foot on the moon, the first person of color that sets foot on the moon. I'm helping to plan this mission, but that gives me excitement every day that I work.
I can't even imagine. I would not, kudos, just fantastic. I'm excited just to hear about the things that you do, and being a judge obviously is not something we don't get to go to see. But what an amazing journey you have had. The challenges, are there any challenges that you face as a woman, or as an Indian American, or an Asian American? Are there any challenges that you face as an NASA flight director?
People ask me this question all the time because obviously being the first South Asian of anything, most people ask you, first South Asian woman especially, what challenges have you had being South Asian or a woman in your field to get where you are? I will tell you that I've been pretty welcomed with open arms, especially in the engineering field. I haven't actually had a lot of struggles either being a woman or being South Asian. I think what's more important, to be honest, is your ethics and your hard work. I think if you show your place at the table and you work hard, you will get the respect you deserve no matter what you look like and no matter who you are. And I think that is what statute, they'll invite you to the table, and they'll want you to do the conversations. I will say that at NASA, I've been there for 17 years now, and mission control itself, you know, if you guys remember from all the old movies and you can respond old footage, it was very typically white male centered, right? You can see they would all wear the same exact outfit with their pocket protectors and their black glasses and the black suits. That was really what NASA looked like back in the 60s and 70s. Even more so where there was only male restrooms in mission control. And so over the years, they had to re-outfit their restrooms just to have female restrooms in the first place, and now, you know, breastfeeding pumping stations and things like that, just to have more women working at NASA. And what I actually noticed most recently is that, you know, we have LOSs where we don't have common interaction spaces, and that's when we get to get up and like heat up our lunch and go to the bathroom. And for one of the first times, like years ago, there was a line for women's restroom. That had never happened in my 17 years. I was like, okay, good. Like, your day change is enough. Or now I have to wait in line at the restroom, the women's restroom. That means there's enough of us here at NASA. And so we need to continue pushing those boundaries and inspiring, you know, the women of our next generations to go into engineering and continue on.
I can completely relate. When I was elected in 2018, my predecessor was the only female judge in the county. On the county level, there were no other female judges. So for the first time, we actually have a female majority. We have 4 females to 2 males. That has never happened historically. What an amazing thing. I'm glad we're moving in the right direction.
Hillary Clinton or somebody said this quote, which I always resonate with when people ask me about, you know, how does it feel to be the first South Asian flight director? You know, I'm really excited for when there comes a day when people don't talk about it anymore, right? Because I'm not the first. There's been so many after me that it's not exciting that I'm the first female anything, because now there's been other females behind me. That's the topic of conversation. And I remember when Hillary Clinton said that quote, I was like, oh, I absolutely agree with what she's saying there. Because I'm excited for the day that there are so many females that's not even the topic that we're talking about.
Absolutely. So, your diverse background, you kind of talked about it, you touched on it, your dad, your mom, but what influenced you? At what point in your life did you realize that this is, you want to be a NASA, or did you decide I want to do this, or did this kind of just come as a natural progression in regard to your career, or did it somehow, how did you get here?
Exactly. Sure. You know, I think a lot of times, especially you know, now I'm a parent of an 8-year-old, and I think about my daughter and what she's going to become, and everyone has this vision of like, what they want their kids to be, and they should have a path, or they should stick to that path. For me, you know, I decided to do aerospace engineering because of my dad. After graduating through aerospace engineering, I actually went to a career fair, or actually during college, I went to a career fair, and NASA was there. And I ended up getting to speak to one of the representatives of NASA, and he said, hey, I have this job that's in mission control. You know, are you interested? Obviously, I said, absolutely. Please let me apply. So I applied, I got the job. And in my first internship at NASA, do you know what I did? I changed the carpet. I was trying to change the carpet to mission control, like how we were going to do that. How we were going to move the real engineers from place to place so we could get the carpet changed in mission control. And I had no idea what I signed up for, right? The title said mission control, and I was like, yeah, let's go do there. But after that, you know, I told him, you know, those people that we were moving around to make sure that the carpet got changed, I would actually like to be one of those people, those flight controllers. And he connected me with the right person, the right manager, and ended up having a job in flight control. And so in flight control, I was one of the many positions in the room that the flight director kind of controlled right as part of it. I ended up doing that job for about 10 years, and ended up being a capsule communicator where I spoke to the astronauts. And then I ended up applying to be a flight director. But to be honest, the only reason I even moved to all these different places is because mentors saw me. Like, people saw that I was hardworking, that I was doing a good job in these different tasks, and kind of coached me and said, hey, would you entertain applying to be a cap officer? You get to talk to the astronauts. When I was doing that, she said, would you ever think about being a flight director? And I was like, nah, I don't know. Check about me, said, yeah, we've seen what you've done, and we think you'd be really good here. You should apply. And for flight directors specifically, you know, it's really challenging. We've had less than 100 flight directors in NASA's history, and we've had over 600 astronauts. out of the over 107 flight directors that we had, I'm the 15th female. So there's not a lot, right? There's not a lot. So it's a really competitive job. And so when I finally decided I was going to apply to be a flight director, I said I would do it one time only, and I gave it my all. And obviously when I was giving it my all, I convinced myself that was absolutely what I wanted to do. But I think it was really because of good mentors through my path that kind of inspired me and pushed me. That's really how I ended up where I am today.
It's amazing. So, listen, kids, you may have to start out small somewhere before you get somewhere else. I remember when I first passed the bar in Texas, I was told that I might be also included answering phone calls. And for a second, I thought, what am I? Am I a receptionist or something? And one of the things that I teach my kids in law school when just the last semester, I was like, be humble, always stay humble. It's, where you start doesn't matter, it's where you're going to end up. And that humility that comes, as you age is something so important because it doesn't take much for any of us to lose it all. So, yeah. So what advice do you give to some of the younger generation who aspire to work in the aerospace industry?
So advice for those that want to work in aerospace, I mean, it's obvious that you have to be good at math and science, right? That's pretty much anybody that goes into engineering. I would say where the sweet spot really is are your social emotional skills, right? I think there's a lot of people that are really good at coding and sit behind a computer. There are a lot of people that are really good at solving math problems, but there are not a lot of people that are really good at solving math problems, but they can also bring a group and team together. And so if you're able to have both, that really is what makes you the perfect engineer, and that's what's going to make you rise to the top. So keep your math and science. I think that's baseline, right? Like if I didn't do well in math and science in college, I wouldn't have been able to graduate with an aerospace degree. But I really, when people always ask me, what's the biggest thing you learned in college, that you use today? And I would never say my calculus group class or my solids or mechanics. Like, yes, I use that every day because I need to have that mental expertise. But I was the president of my sorority my senior year in college. And I had to gather and corral 30 girls in college, that were 20, 21 years old. That was the hardest thing I'd ever done. And I will say that skill of getting everybody together, building consensus, understanding people, reading the room, that's what I use today, even in this technical field. So not only push your math and science, but find opportunities which you get to use those social emotional skills, because honestly, those will take you forward.
Absolutely. I was the president of my college in my last year, and for me, everything that I learned during that year as to what a leader is and what a leader does and what, it's not always having the spotlight, it's being able to be, delegate and it's being giving other people an opportunity is what makes you a great leader. And it's all those things that add up and later on in life that will come to help you. So thank you so much. And do you have an opportunity to promote diversity or inclusion in your team or at NASA itself currently?
Yeah, of course. I mean, NASA has similar initiatives like that you're doing today, but I think each of us as leaders can help promote diversity in our day-to-day, right? I specifically remember two Diwalis ago, I had to go straight from my mission control shift to a Diwali function. And I had no time to change, no time to do anything. So guess what? I wore an narcotic situation to mission control. And I was like, it is okay if I wear this to mission control. And so I walked in the room and everyone was like, what are you wearing? And I was like, this is actually formal anywhere. You know what I mean? It's the same thing as a formal suit that I wear on a day-to-day basis. But I have to go somewhere after this. And first of all, I'm working on Diwali anyway, and I shouldn't be, it should be one of my holidays. And so I took that moment to kind of embrace our culture and show an example to my team, where they also felt like, years after or the months after, that they could also express themselves. I'd also say diversity, thought, age, all of those things are so important. We a lot of times talk about diversity specifically in what we look like in our academic backgrounds, but diversity in age is also important. So making sure that our younger colleagues and our older colleagues feel the same with male and female. So trying to make sure that you set an example that being different is okay is important to leaders. It allows people to be themselves, the best version of themselves, and then they bring it up to the table.
Very, very true. Absolutely. So what are some of your future goals and aspirations?
That's a hard question because, like I said, even part of this generation. We're going back to the moon. I absolutely can't believe NASA will do that. Obviously, 2026, 2028, 2027, these are all the dates, they're all coming up. To get to be in mission control when the first woman steps on the moon, like I cannot be there for that. So sticking around NASA definitely will be awesome.
So is there an option for you to be able to be an astronaut and walk on the moon?
There could be, I mean, I never applied to the astronaut office. Being an astronaut, we were just talking about this, takes a completely different skill set. The skill set that an astronaut needs, honestly, is someone that you can throw a wrench to and open the hood of your car and they know how to take the parts apart and then put it all back together. And that's not stuff that I do on a daily basis. It's really hands-on. The hands-on skills are really what it takes to be an astronaut because there are times in which mission control may not be there to save you. You need to be able to manually manipulate the hardware. My skill sets are much better at organizing the team and getting the mission to be executed successfully and safely. So I've never applied, but people do nudge me. People do nudge me every once in a while. Like there's actually an astronaut application out right now, so maybe this institution doesn't apply. But I'm not going to apply this time here.
So we have some fun questions for her. Who's your role model?
My role model was definitely my parents. My parents, because I think as an immigrant daughter, right? So I grew up in Sherwood, I didn't mention this earlier. I went to Clemens High School, so I'm kind of down the road. My parents still live here anymore, but we moved here in high school. And seeing my parents' ethic is just something that there could be another role model for me. Right? Seeing our parents leave India with $5 in their pockets, you know, 5 pounds in their pockets, and went to England, and how much they hustled. Like my dad will tell me stories about how he made white bread for months when he was a doctor because there was nothing vegetarian in England. He couldn't get stuff without meat, and so we ate white bread and butter for months at a time. And so my parents absolutely are my role models.
And maybe your parents still, but who's your greatest cheerleader?
Great cheerleader. I actually say it's my husband now. So I married my high school sweetheart. We went to Clemens High School as well. So we met back in the day, Clemens, and I'll tell you, he was number 6 or 7 in our high school graduating class of over 1,000 kids. I was number 200, 2 something. I didn't even know the number because it wasn't worth knowing. It wasn't. Let me put it that way. And so my husband has always been the smartest guy, and without him being my cheerleader, I wouldn't be able to do the job that I do. I have a daughter, we have a daughter, she's 8 years old now, and because he champions me and allows me to do the work that I do, that is why I'm able to do it. If he didn't help me and support me, I wouldn't be here.
Understandable. We all need those. I sit on a general jurisdiction court that handles juveniles as well. So anytime a child between the age of 10 and 17 commits a crime in Fort Bend County, it would come in front of one of the 6 judges on the bench on the county level. And so one of the things I always tell them is, you may have a failure, you may stumble and fall. All of us will encounter failures in life. It's what you do next, the next step that you make that matters. And so, as you said, you struggled a little bit. You didn't know you were past in high school. Well, in college, I was about to bail out my first year before I decided to get it together. So thank you for sharing that. What's your favorite food?
I definitely like all Asian, like noodles, ramen, sushi, that's definitely my favorite.
Great, as we celebrate Asian American Pacific Island.
Also Indian food, of course, but outside of it.
Kids.
Yeah, I have one daughter, she's 8 years old, her name is Jaya. Like, super fun.
And you mentioned you are married.
I am married, yeah. My husband, Saurav, is a lawyer at Meta, at Facebook. So also wildly successful and doing great, so I'll be proud of him.
What do you do for fun?
What do we do for fun? So we just actually bought a house in Montrose last year. It's 1928 bungalow that has a lot of historical significance in the Houston area. And we spent the last year renovating it. So I like picking up every picture and putting a lot of style and design into it. So that was our most recent project. We also love to motorcycle. So not me myself, but my husband is a big motorcyclist. So we go on trips quite a bit where my arms are wrapped around him and he's doing the driving. So one daughter, and so I promised my husband we would get a dog as our second child. She has never had a second child. And so we will get that. And even so much to say that when we renovated our house, we put in permanent dog bowls into our laundry room, and so now those dog bowls are just sitting there without a pet. And so it's time for us to do it. We just haven't had time to get it yet, but we will.
Any last words that you want to share?
Thank you for having me today. It's really lovely to be in front of this audience. It's lovely to speak to our community. You know, I will always say that my biggest cheerleaders are the South Asian community in Houston. Like every time I meet somebody is excited to say, Pooja, I heard your name somewhere, or I saw you somewhere. We're so proud of you. And it's almost like my parents coming up to me saying that they're so proud of me. Each and every time I meet somebody in this community, they wish me the very best, and they're so proud of me. And I feel that. So thank you for having me today.
Thank you. And definitely very excited to have you. I want to maybe take like 2 questions from the audience. I know she has to go. I told her that I will get her out of here by 6:15. So any questions anyone has, like 2, maybe we can take 2, 3 max.
Yeah, with ISRO.
So any collaboration with India is the question.
Yeah, the Indian Space Agency. So there's been actually a lot of conversations with the Indian Space Agency about flying an Indian astronaut to the International Space Station, essentially through Axiom. Axiom is a private company that is outsourcing SpaceX to fly astronauts to the International Space Station. And so ISRO is actually looking to see if they can fly an astronaut through Axiom and SpaceX to the International Space Station. So we should hopefully see that in the next few years. It's really great. Yeah.
Anyone else? One more? Yes, Mr. Seth?
Hi, Pooja, my name is Raj Seth. Thank you for being here today. Judge Matthew, thank you for doing this. You talked about mentors early on and how it was important to kind of identify them and they would suggest something to you. I kind of feel you also asked every single time. So if you could just speak to a little bit to everyone here how important that part is.
Yeah, I would say mentorship goes both ways, right? And so for me, when I was young, there were people that kind of looked after me and saw that I was studying engineer and they would help me out and make sure that I was doing well. But I would say probably midpoint in my career when I didn't know what I wanted to do, I specifically remember asking one of the bosses in one of the areas if she would be my mentor because I looked up to her and I thought that she was just doing a really good job and I wanted to mimic and really get to the other wing. And so I asked her, will you be my mentor? I was like, will you be my girlfriend or boyfriend? Will you be my mentor? And she was like, absolutely, Pooja, I will. And I took a lot of direction from her through my career, to be honest. And now what's really important is that at this point in my career, I need to get out there, right? I need to find those people in the crowd that are doing well, that are 22 or 16 or 30, and say, hey, let me help you, let me push you. And I thought about doing that. And so I think, it goes both ways. When you're young, don't hesitate to seek out a mentor. If you're not getting that mentor that just shows up. And then when you're, in our positions now, we really should look out and provide mentorship to these younger kids if they really need it, especially in this day.
So I'm going to be interested in working at how do you get started? Do internships or
Yeah, I ended up getting an internship in college, like that carpet internship. That was how I got my foot in the door. So honestly, it was just going to the career fair at NASA. I ended up doing a bunch of different internships in different groups before I graduated UT and decided where I wanted to go full time. But really, it's so interesting to me. I just spoke to a bunch of NASA interns last month. Yeah, last month. And all of them were so stressed out, right? They were like, which group should I be in? Which group is the best? What do you think I should do? And I basically made everybody stop. So all our questions were like, what do you think about this group? Should I go? And I was like, hold on, everybody. Like, you're already at NASA. First of all, let's just be excited that we're here. And you got this job and you have made it in the door. So really the hardest thing is getting in the door, right? Finding a job that you can kind of set your foot back on. Once you've done that, you will be able to move around without issue as long as you do well. So it's really, for you and anyone that's aspiring to work at NASA, it's making those connections to get your foot in the door and then you're set.
All right, so last and final, right there, right behind Mom.
Hi, would you do anything different now, or like about your experience? Would you do anything different about your job or apply for a different position?
No, you know, I think life is so interesting that, like, you learn so much in each step of the way that I would never want to do anything differently, right? I feel like, so, a little backstory, my name is Unity Flight. So as you get selected to be flight director, you have to name your team. And so back in the day, it was red, white, blue, the Americans, black colors, and then as flight directors got selected, you know, people are Discovery Flight, or, I mean, we have all sorts of names, 100 names, right? And so my name is Unity. I decided to be Unity mainly because there was a quote that I read when traveling to Mexico that said, I am because we are. So I am who I am because we as a community are. And so to change anything in my life, I probably wouldn't be here today, right? Because all those little micro steps and butterfly effects that have really got me to where we are. And so even on my first flight director speech that day, I said, I'm only a flight director because we in this community have supported me and figured out how to get me here. I didn't get here by myself. I got here because each one of you helped me get here. And so, no, I wouldn't change a single thing.